organization with those exact problems. We turn those around. And lastly, I've been leading by example. I'm donating my whole salary as mayor to educational programs, and I'm going to not enter the pension system at all.
Thank you, Bonnie. I will donate my salary as well as mayor if you will give me your $250,000 a year pension. I think
38 years breaking glass ceilings like I have as a woman. I would have to give you that.
Hey, Bonnie.
look here.
Our rules. If
you have to. I'm going to reclaim part of that time. Look, you got to lead by example. And you can't stand on a stage and say, I want everyone else to have a 401k and take a $250,000 a year pension. I mean, you have to have a mayor that's going to be willing to walk the walk. And either those defined benefit, six-figure pensions are okay, or they're not. And I think we have to stop the abuses. I don't think it matters how long you've worked in public service, you shouldn't get a $250,000 a year in retirement. Marines who dedicate their entire life, who go to combat, who go to war, who subject themselves to dying, don't get that size of pensions. And those are the abuses that we're talking about. And I can tell you, I've led by example. I have no pension, not even a 401k, and I put my life on my line for the country. I went to war. I've served in the assembly. And I think you need a mayor that is going to come in and be willing to lead by example, to be consistent, and to set a model for employees. You can put new hire workers back in Social Security. You can negotiate a way to implement this that's fairly, and you can lead us into a better future. But that's going to take something new and someone who's willing to come in and lead by example, to be consistent, to hold the line, to not do one thing and then ask other people to do another. And that's what I represent as mayor. Thank you.
I think we're going to keep this going. We're going to do something a little bit out of the ordinary for a debate today. We are going to give each one of the three of you the opportunity to ask one of your fellow candidates any question you want. And then they will have 2 minutes to respond. You get 1 minute to ask your question. So, you can use that time however you see fit. So, I know that that's asking you to improvise compared to normal. So are there any volunteers to go first with who you would like to ask your questions and ask whatever you like?
I think we would all like to ask Mr. DeMaio why he isn't here. That is, unlike the other candidates, he will not appear. He makes certain demands on the community group. Are you going to give us, I want certain questions, I want certain rules, I want certain things. And if he doesn't get it, he doesn't show up. To me, that is incredibly arrogant and dismissive of community groups, like the Filipino American Community Empowerment Group. I think we all would agree on that, because if you're mayor, you've got to meet with everybody. You've got to talk to everybody. You've got to be able to take the criticism and deal with it. I've been on school board, city council, Congress. You get that experience that you need for mayor in that kind of position. And I'm glad Nathan equated the combat with being in Sacramento. It's even worse to be on the 10th floor and deal with the city council of San Diego.
All right. So, no questions for Mr. Fletcher or Ms. Dumas?
My question is, Nathan, will you be my education liaison, since education is my primary focus in this race? We need to fix our city schools, and one of the things I want to make sure is that we have somebody in the mayor's office who is going to bring the San Diego Unified District together to work on the issues that relate to kids. I have an 8-point plan, and part of that is having somebody in the mayor's office. So I want to see that we have somebody that has an interest. I've been working in the area of education for nearly 25 years in the juvenile court, in the district attorney's office. And by the way, Nathan, I've been alive and in public service longer then you have been alive. I've been living in San Diego and working to earn my way up from a junior clerk typist all the way to the second largest district attorney's office in the state of California, the 10th largest in the nation, as the only woman in San Diego.
Thank you. There's a compelling reason to vote against me because of when I was born. We need a new start. We need a new energy. I think there comes a point where you've been in government so long that you can't see a new way of doing things. You just know the status quo. You say there are no new ideas. You don't have the ability to move forward, and I represent that change. But there are clear differences between the candidates, and that's one of the great things about this race. But Bonnie, to answer the question directly, as the next mayor takes office, I will play a lead role in improving our public education. And I will do that as your mayor. I said the day I announced for mayor, we're going to make education an issue in this campaign. And others said, well, the mayor has no role, or they said the mayor has no time. And I said, with respect to this question of time, I've watched this city have debates for months on end about harbor seals. We have time to talk about education. We just have to make it a priority. And standing with Paul Jacobs, the CEO of Qualcomm, we recently put out a detailed and bold, comprehensive education plan that focuses on ending the digital divide to make sure that every child in San Diego has a computing device and access to the internet. The focus on taking best practices, areas we've known where things work, and replicating them in other ways. Creating a STEM, or science and technology, engineering and math academy, so that our kids get those hard sciences and math skills they need to be successful in the future. We talked about things like workforce. That is an education issue. If someone loses their job, unless you're going to put them on unemployment for the rest of their life, they may have lost their job, that job may be gone. How do we retrain them and get them back out in the job market? And then how do we make sure all of our government entities are working together? Whether we're talking about sporting fields, so we have more athletic facilities or libraries. How do we get our schools and our city and the county and all of the entities working together? Because we're never going to build the economy of the future without an education system of the future. And one of the great things about America is every child gets access to the American dream, but that access is a quality education, and we'll deliver that if I get elected mayor. Thank you.
All right, Nathan, now it's your turn to get to ask somebody a question.
You know, my question, it's the same one I posed to Councilmember DeMaio, and he's not here, and this is the 7th debate that he has chosen not to attend. And with the number of unanswered questions that are racking up regarding his candidacy, I wouldn't be here either. But I would ask him the same question I posed to him then, which is, have you, yes or no, met behind closed doors with the city lobbyists that are funding your campaign and discussed city business? Because he says one thing and he does another. And he says, I'm fighting the special interests. And then he has taken more money from lobbyists, developers, and city hall insiders than anyone on the stage. And he says, I wouldn't take support from police officers because I'd be beholden to them as mayor. But then he takes support from lobbyists and developers who have business before the city, and I want to know, would he be beholden to them? Is he going to give the money back? Is he going to answer simple questions? Yes or no? Has he met behind closed doors with the lobbyists that are funding his campaign and discuss our city business? Because you need a mayor that's going to be upfront and honest and straightforward. And I hope at some point in the future he actually shows up to a debate and answers these questions.
Well, I think on that one, Bonnie wins points simply for being the only one to properly follow instructions. So we're going to move on. Melissa's got a question for you.
Okay, this affects mostly everyone in this room. Of course, it's jobs. We have a lot of young people here perhaps graduating, and the question here is, where are the jobs? So the most recent jobless report shows that unemployment in San Diego County is 9.3%. And yes, this is lower than the state unemployment rate, but while this is also an improvement from last year, it's not where a lot of people in this room want to see. What would you do as mayor to create new jobs and not only help unemployment, but underemployment?
Well, one of the things that we need to do, I put out my first 100 days in office plan. So we have to cut the red tape at City Hall to make it the best place in California to do, the easiest place in California to do business. And help businesses by defaulting to yes. How can we get things started instead of saying no? And by doing that, we'll encourage businesses to come to San Diego. And as the mayor, I will go over to Asia, to Europe, and across the nation to bring venture capitalists here, to bring business here, to work with a port, to get import and exports here. But we also, one of the areas is a summer of work and learning, providing leadership with the community of business to have kids in high schools placed in businesses like high tech, life sciences, biotech, clean tech, to get the skills that they need. We need good paying jobs, and we're going to get those jobs from some of the areas like arts and culture. And in our schools, we have to make sure we have 21st century educational programs using technology and crossing that digital divide so that everybody has an opportunity and an opportunity at home. We're also going to have someone in the mayor's office that is an expert in U.S.-Mexico commerce. Someone who has a Mexican background, that has a legal background, that can help us bring jobs and help the intertwine of our two governments, because we are one government, really. And we need to work with all of the colleges to have internships at the city to help them bring some of those tools that they have to the city and have paid city people, students working with us. But we also have to reach out to those businesses and get the workforce partnership involved to put money on the table for businesses, both for tax relief as well as for training to recruit kids. And we need to make sure we grow our own here in San Diego County.
Clearly, jobs is the key issue for every community in San Diego. You know, our prosperity was built in the 50s, 60s, 70s in this city with the defense industry, when General Dynamics employed 60,000 people. Top private firm employs maybe 4,000 or 5,000 now. We've never replaced those middle-class jobs for working people, skilled working people who could buy a house, send their kids to college. You know what offers the best potential for doing that in San Diego that's never been exploited? That's our beautiful port. So it's the biggest Navy base in the world. It's a great tourist center, but it's not a center of job creation, commerce coming in and out. You know, every city on the east or west coast or Gulf Coast has a major working port. We don't. We're talking about thousands of jobs, and jobs at that middle class, good pay level. You know, the average longshoreman, our job, starts at $125,000. We used to have a dozen longshoremen in San Diego. There's thousands in LA. Why aren't we promoting the port as the key to revitalizing our whole economy? We should become the alternative energy capital of the country, if not the world. You know, as mayor, working with the school system and other city political entities, we could mandate the solar powering of every public building in San Diego. You know the demand that creates in the private sector, especially small business, for not only retrofitting and energy audits of our public buildings, but providing the solar panels or the photovoltaic cells. It would grow the whole economy in San Diego. And, you know, I've led trade missions to the Philippines for investments from small business in the Philippines, from investments in the Philippines here in the United States. And I talked about the tapping of all of our communities with economic development, like promoting the Filipino village. We leave $8 billion a year on the table because the border wait times are so incredible at our southern border. We can change that. Let's put that money in our economy and not leave it on the table. Thank you.
As mayor, I'm going to make Bob a port commissioner. Okay, you can rebuild our ports because our ports are important and they are good jobs. All right, we want more of them. But they fit into a broader overall picture of what we want to do. When I announced for mayor, people said, hey, are you going to do it in front of City Hall? And I said, no way. And that's why I said, one, it's a horribly ugly building. But two, it's a story of a lot of what's broken in San Diego. And I went to a company not far from here in Nuvasiv, because Nuvasiv represents what's working in our economy. That's a company that in a recession went from $1 million in revenue to $500 million in revenue. It's a company that is employing hundreds of San Diegans in those good quality jobs. It gives them health care. It gives them retirement and ability to buy a home. They're also improving people's lives and making a real difference. And I said, as mayor of San Diego, I want to change the city motto from America's finest city to the world's most innovative city. And we put out a detailed economic plan on how we do that. And one of the measurements is the dollar amount we export. Because we're going to measure our exports through our ports. And we're going to grow and build that. One of those metrics is the number of patents, because we want to be that innovative, new economy type society. But one of those metrics is a rise in the median income. And I came out of a working class family. My dad was a factory worker who became a police officer. And those middle class jobs are vital, and I worry in today's economy that at a time when people should be working their way into the middle class, Those middle-class jobs are eroding and being taken away. And those are the stepping stones for great opportunity and advancement. And there is something unique and special about America. It's why so many people come here, the American dream. The opportunity, if you work hard, if you take risk, that you can have unlimited success. And as mayor, we're going to focus on making San Diego the most competitive place to find that economic success, to have the American dream, and it's going to be by having quality schools, by having good economic opportunities, and by having a balanced and robust economic base that allows everyone the opportunity to move forward into a better future. Thank you.
Open mic here. Any rebuttal? Any further comments on jobs? All right, we're moving on.
As we know from the conversations we've been having today, education is certainly a top priority, and it is definitely a priority for the community that FACE represents. So if elected, what would you do specifically to address the increasing educational needs of San Diego's youth? Let's mix things up. Nathan, give this one a start and we'll go down the line.
Yeah, you know, the world changes so much, but our education system often lags behind. You know, our students and our children are going to have to compete in a world that is increasingly global. And yet, when you look at the number of days we're in school, it's significantly less. The length of time our kids are in schools each day is significantly less. And so we put out a plan that focuses on things like I mentioned earlier, like closing the digital divide. In a country that 40 years ago put a man on the moon, there is no excuse that every child in San Diego doesn't have a computing device and access to the internet. Because that's 24/7 learning and 24/7 education. The superintendent of San Diego County Office of Education, when we put that out, said that's a bold plan that will do a tremendous amount to move all of our children forward into a better future. But then let's take laboratories of learning. Let's take places where it's working. An example like Los Penasquitos Elementary, where they speak 38 languages at Los Pen. They've created a model called No Excuses University that says every child's going to go to college. And they were just recognized by President Obama as the only blue ribbon school in San Diego. And the principal of that school has said Nathan Fletcher is a mayor who will understand what it takes to take those ideas and replicate them on a broad scale. We're talking about really transforming how we do things, about having San Diego be a leader, to really step out and lead the way. Because the American dream I just mentioned, there's no equality of outcome. Not everyone gets the same size house. There's not even an equality of ease. Right? It's harder for some kids than others based on your family or where you come from, but there is an equality of access. And that means that every child, regardless of income, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of what zip code they live in, every child gets access to the American dream, which is a quality K-12 education which prepares them for college, access to a college which prepares them to enter the job market, and then a job market we've created that will provide them the opportunity to get that job so they can buy a home, have health care, have retirement, and truly live the American dream. Thank you.
Nathan just earned the job of education czar in the film administration. Thank you. You know, I came to San Diego 40 years ago with to teach at San Diego State. I got a doctorate in history and taught for 20 years at San Diego State. I was president of our San Diego Board of Education. I'm the only one of the candidates who's put my children through the public school system here in San Diego. So there's something about education which is at my core and which I have spent all my life. And from the point of view of the Board of Education and as a parent and a grandparent, and looking at our school system, I formulated a plan that says our whole city should take responsibility for our children from 6 in the morning until 6 at night. From 6 to 6. We give the school system, you know, responsibility for our children, say from 9 to 3. I mean, it's not exactly. But before and after school, when they get most in trouble, when the gangs take over these kids, why isn't our whole city taking advantage? You know, a city by definition, taking care of our kids. A city by definition has all kinds of resources. We have museums in Balboa. We have the Navy. We have big businesses. We have small business. We have churches. Why isn't everybody taking care of the kids? Can you imagine 1,000 kids supervised in Balboa Park after school? getting the learning from those museums, world-class museums, knowing how a business forms, knowing how to set up an exhibit, learning the relationship between their schooling and the real world. Why aren't we doing that? I started an adopt a school program when I was president of the school board, which had individual businesses adopting school. We can enlarge that. These are our future, you know, right here. And we ought to involve them, by the way, in the politics of this city. Why aren't they involved? We're going to have a youth advisory committee. I've been doing that as part of the campaign. I got into politics when I was a kid. There's no reason why we can't involve these children, these young people, in the politics of our city.
So the one thing that is clear is we can't allow San Diego Unified to be taken over by the state. And that's the risk we face, because it lowers our property rates, it doesn't give our kids their full potential, and no one's going to bring business here to San Diego County, and we're losing good teachers. So I have put out a plan on education that includes transparency, includes parent involvement, and financial oversight. It's a way to take politics out of the city, the unified trustees. It's a way to make sure that we have financial oversight to see where the money is going, and we have experts in the area of education that will be working on that. My full plan, by the way, is on my website, bonnieforsandiego.com. It also involves, as I said, an education liaison in the mayor's office, a summer of work and learning. We need to make sure that education is something that's high on the priority list of the mayor of San Diego, the 8th largest city in the nation. All the major city mayors have gotten involved in education. We've got to make sure we change the funding formulas so we get more money to our kids for doing other kinds of things, like taking AP classes, like doing apprenticeship or internship. We do need to cross that digital divide, and every home should have internet access so that their kids could do the learning at home. I have a youth advisory board as the DA. I've been involved as a juvenile court judge in education issues, which primarily relate to lower income kids that don't have the opportunity and who don't have literacy. We need to make education a priority so that the kids don't end up in the criminal justice system, where we spend way more money there than on the kids that need it now.
Thank you. We're going to wrap up here. I want to thank all of you, first of all, for coming and speaking directly to the Ivy Leagues. I know everyone here appreciates it. We're going to give 2 minutes for closing statements. We're going to start with Bob, since he's in the middle. He's going to start first on in-person here.
Right in the middle of the political spectrum also. Thank you for joining us and seeing this and allowing us to debate. You know, as I said earlier, the experience, if you want to talk about experience, the person who's the president of our school board, deputy mayor of city council, deputy mayor of San Diego on the city council, chairman of our Veterans Affairs Committee in the United States Congress. You need that background to come to grips with the problems that we have, be they jobs, be they education, be they housing, be they transportation, be they bringing us from America's finest city to one of America's greatest cities. One of my greatest heroes and mentors was Bobby Kennedy. Bobby Kennedy used to say in his speeches, you know, most people see things as they are and ask why. I dream of things that never were and ask why not. Why not have a city where we can create thousands of jobs that we need to begin to be a prosperous city again? Why not have a city where every child, as we all have committed to, gets the highest class education that will allow them to go as far as they want in this great American country? Why not have a city that actually confronts its homelessness and says, this is not acceptable in San Diego. This is not acceptable in America. Why not have a city where affordable housing and mass transit can be looked at together and we can enlarge both? Why not have a city where the arts and cultures are brought to new level? That's what a mayor can do. Provide the leadership to ask, why not? So I'm asking San Diego to dream about a future that we can have. But to bring that future, you need to know how to deal with the present, how to create the reality, how to deal with all the various interest groups, how to lead and bring us together as a city. We have an exciting future. We have to realize it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been an honor to be here today, and it's an honor to be not only a representative of this community, but to be a candidate for mayor of San Diego, because there is no doubt that we are a great city with a great future. We just need a city government that begins to reflect that same greatness and spirit of our people. You know, I grew up in a working class family, and I got a great appreciation and lesson growing up for hard work. For seeing the struggles and the difficulties. I got a deep understanding of the fact that I have a better life because of how hard my parents worked. And I understand that same thing, that I will work hard to make sure that my young family, my two boys, have a better life than I do. But that requires an environment that allows us to have economic opportunity, to have a quality education system, to have a city government that delivers the services you need and count on. And I believe that public office is public service, and we have the opportunity to improve the lives of the people that we represent. I served in the Marine Corps, where I saw the tremendous sacrifice that Americans are willing to make to ensure our safety and our security and our way of life. I got great lessons in terms of what it means to make difficult decisions, but what a real crisis is, of what true leadership entails. When I ran for the assembly, everyone said, hey, you'll never get anything done because it's so polarizing and it's so partisan, but I said there's a different way to do it. There's a new way to do it. We can care less about what party someone is and more about the strength of the idea that they represent. We can sit down and we can negotiate in good faith. We can focus on a solution. We can bring that same Marine Corps approach and say we're going to accomplish the mission. And I've demonstrated time and again, whether it was passing Chelsea's Law, whether it was lowering the regulatory burden, whether it was working on things like restoring healthy families so that the children have access to health care. But time and again, we've demonstrated the ability to lead, to put out big ideas, to build big coalitions, and to drive things through. But that is going to require a new generation of leadership to get our city moving forward into a new future. It's time to rebuild our city and get San Diego moving again. Thank you very, very much for letting me join you today.
Letting me join you today too, and for being a part of this great community. As the district attorney, 3-time elected, I too agree that we need new energy, we need new ideas, and we need someone that hasn't been involved in the problems of the past. And that's what I bring to you as a mayoral candidate. I have been and have a proven track record for the past 25 years of innovative programs, of drug court, of veterans court, of homeless court, of working with children. I have brought youth advisory boards, citizens advisory boards, been in the community for years, worked on education issues for years. I have a proven track record of making a large government organization work for you as a taxpayer by bringing diversity into that organization, by enriching the culture that we have, by having a diversity pipeline, a brand new idea that brings our deputy DAs like Janice Leone, who's a Filipina attorney, who showed her obstacles and went out into the community with all of our other members to teach kids that they too can dream to be in law or to be a doctor or in the business, the news business. You have someone here with me that has 38 years of experience. It's not about age, it's about implementation. As a chief executive, I can have all the ideas we've been talking about. I agree with many of them, and we all want the best for San Diego. But I've actually been doing it for the last 9 years as the district attorney, and as a judge and a lawyer, I have a skill set that is totally different than a legislature, be it 3 years or 20 years. It is a different skill set. The buck stops with you, whether you have to make tough decisions or not. And I welcome that opportunity to make the best decisions for all of San Diego. Thank you.
Bonnie, Bob, and Nathan, thank you so much for taking time out of your early Saturday morning and speaking to our audience here today. I know Jay has a few closing remarks.
How do you guys like the debate? A round of applause to our moderators. And our ASL sign language interpreter. And especially our candidates. Coming out here this early Saturday morning, some of you probably would have never guessed that debates and politics could be this exciting. It's exciting and it's fun seeing the candidates state where they stand, and the other candidates rebut, like give the rebuttals. It's fun watching from the other end of the table, but it's also very serious because the issues that they're debating over affects our lives. Not just our lives as individuals, but affect our cities. And as Filipinos, many of us, speaking from a personal perspective, my mom and my dad immigrated here so I could have a better future. And my board, if you guys could stand up, there's 10 of us, 2 of them are out of the town. We all have diverse backgrounds, we all grew up in different parts of San Diego, we all have different education, but we all care about one thing, and that's our future. And we want to make sure that when we have kids of our own, they're not facing the same issues that we're facing. Because parents want what's best for their kids. They want their kids to have what they didn't have. And if what we don't have right now, or what we didn't have, was a voice in San Diego as the second largest minority group. But I'm very excited because here we have student organization leaders who's going to relay what they heard here today to their student orders. And we have our board members here who's videotaping this, and you know everything gets viral nowadays, and our community is going to know what's going on. The excitement that you all felt here today is the excitement that our community is going to feel. That's why I'm very excited, and I thank the candidates for coming out here, because it's tough answering these questions. But they also need to be answered. And we need to know which candidate is going to represent us the best. Education, bases everything on research and data. Education is important in our community. Whether it be academic education and cultural education, that is also very important. So candidates, you have to remember that Filipinos, we also want to, our younger generation, we want to make sure that they know where they came from and they know culturally, like they know what it means to be Filipino. But we also want what's best for our future. So everything that you guys heard here today, it's your responsibility to share it with your friends and families who could not be here today, for whatever reason. And it's your responsibility to take whatever you heard here today to make an educated decision on who you want for mayor. It's your responsibility, and you have to take it seriously. Because, again, families immigrated from the Philippines to the United States, and you don't want to make their sacrifices go to waste. Our future sits right there, and right now they're facing a huge problem because when they graduate, it's not certain that they're going to find a job. So we have to make sure that our leaders are going to help us in going on the right path, where what we have today is going to be a lot better tomorrow. With that said, again, thank you candidates, thank you community for coming out. Let's do our civic duty, let's get engaged, and let's spread the word. Thank you.